The knock came just before sunset, when the sky was painted in quiet shades of gold and dust. The old rancher wasn't expecting anyone. When he opened the door and saw two women standing there, tears filled his eyes before a single word was spoken. Because some acts of kindness don't end when the moment passes. Sometimes they come back home merely 2 decades later, with a truth powerful enough to change everything. Before we begin, if you enjoy heartfelt stories that remind us of the goodness still alive in this world, take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Soul Tales, where every story carries a piece of the human heart. 19 years earlier, the ranch had been a quieter place, tucked away in the wide-open land of New Mexico. Jack Turner lived there alone, a weathered man in his late 40s, with hands shaped by hard work and a heart shaped by loss. His wife had passed years before, and their only child had died young. The ranch was all he had left, miles of fence, a few horses, and long evenings filled with memories. One late afternoon, while checking the far edge of his property, Jack noticed movement near the dry creek bed. At first, he thought it was wildlife. But then he heard a cough, a human cough, weak, desperate. He followed the sound and found 2 young girls huddled together beneath a broken cottonwood tree. They couldn't have been more than 8 and 10 years old. Their clothes were torn, their faces dusty, and their eyes wide with fear. One of them held the other tightly, as if letting go might cause her sister to disappear. Jack knelt slowly, careful not to scare them. He spoke softly, telling them they were safe. The older girl didn't answer right away. She only asked one question, her voice shaking. "Are you going to send us away?" Jack didn't know their full story yet, but he knew the answer to that question. "Not tonight," he said. "Not ever, if I can help it." The girls were Apache sisters named Lena and Mela. Their parents had died suddenly, and the system meant to protect them had failed. They'd run away from a temporary placement, scared and alone, walking for days until exhaustion dropped them right onto Jack's land. Jack brought them home, fed them warm food, and gave them clean clothes that had once belonged to his late wife. That night, as the girls slept on the couch, Jack sat awake in his chair, staring at the ceiling. He hadn't planned on becoming anyone's guardian. But kindness doesn't always wait for permission. The next weeks were filled with paperwork, meetings, and long conversations. Jack could have turned them over to authorities and walked away, but every time he looked at the girls, how they clung to each other, how they slowly began to smile, he knew he couldn't let them go. He became their legal guardian that year. Life on the ranch changed. There was laughter again. School mornings were chaotic. The girls helped feed the animals and learned how to ride horses. Jack helped with homework at the kitchen table, pretending he understood math better than he did. At night, Lena and Mela would sometimes ask about their parents. Jack never avoided those conversations. He listened. He honored their culture. He told them it was okay to remember, okay to grieve, and okay to grow into who they were meant to be. Jack never tried to replace their parents. He just showed up. Every single day. Years passed quickly. The girls grew into strong, intelligent young women. Lena became serious and focused, with a deep sense of responsibility. Mela was creative and warm, always humming songs as she worked. When it came time for college, Jack sold a portion of his land to help pay for their education. The day they left the ranch was one of the hardest of Jack's life. He hugged them both, his voice breaking as he told them how proud he was. He expected visits, phone calls, maybe holidays together. But life moves fast. The calls became less frequent. Then they stopped altogether. At first, Jack worried. Then he told himself they were busy building their lives. He didn't want to be a burden. Months turned into years, 19 of them. Jack grew older. His hair turned white. His steps slowed. The ranch felt quiet again like it had before, but lonelier now because he knew what was missing. Then came the knock. When Jack opened the door, the 2 women standing there looked familiar and unfamiliar all at once. taller, stronger, confident. But when they smiled through tears, he knew immediately. "Dad," Lena said softly. Jack didn't speak. He pulled them into his arms, holding on like he was afraid they might vanish again. They cried together right there on the porch as the sun dipped below the horizon. Inside, over coffee and memories, the sisters finally told him why they had disappeared. After college, they had returned to their community to work with Native youth, helping children who felt lost, abandoned, or forgotten, just like they once had. They had changed their names professionally to honor their heritage and kept their work private. They hadn't reached out because they wanted to stand on their own, to prove something to themselves. But that wasn't the secret. The real reason they had come back was this: the ranch was about to be taken. Jack had fallen behind on taxes and medical bills. A development company had quietly begun the process of buying up nearby land. The sisters had found out months earlier. Together, Lena and Mela had built a foundation using their savings and support from others they had helped over the years. A foundation created to preserve land, culture, and second chances. They handed Jack a folder. Inside were legal documents. The ranch was paid off, protected, permanently placed under the foundation's care, with Jack able to live there for the rest of his life. "You gave us a home when you didn't have to," Mela said, her voice trembling. "This is us giving it back." Jack sat in silence, tears rolling down his face. He had never expected anything in return for his kindness. That was never why he did it. But kindness remembers. That night, the ranch felt alive again, not just with voices and laughter, but with purpose. Jack realized something powerful. The love he had given freely had grown, multiplied, and found its way back to him, stronger than ever. In the days that followed, neighbors came by, curious about the changes. Jack told them the story simply. He didn't call himself a hero. He just said he'd done what anyone should do when someone needs help. But the truth is, not everyone does. Kindness is a choice, a quiet one. And sometimes, it changes generations. As the sun set over the ranch once more, Jack watched the sisters walk the land they once ran across as frightened children. They were no longer lost, and neither was he. Because when you open your heart, even just once, you never know how far that kindness will travel, or how beautifully it might return. So if this story touched you, let it remind you of this. One small act of kindness can become someone else's entire foundation, and the world is always listening, always remembering, always ready to bring it back home.